Chapter 13, from the heart of Cheryl Elizabeth. Now there are many harsh conditions that one can live. I speak about the streets. I speak about being an addict, but truly this is peanuts compared to what some humans endure. I chose this topic because I wanted to share that compassion does feel good for the soul. Compassion is good for the soul. To have compassion, one must first have to understand of compassion. Have you wondered why you would provide compassion towards something, but most certainly not to another? Compassion for family, but not a stranger, and then compassion towards a stranger and not family? Would it then hold true that compassion is a choice? I made my choices. I made my bed, and I slept in it, so to speak. Some people don't have beds. Some people live in extreme conditions, wondering why they are still alive. Why does their own body keep them alive? Or perhaps, just perhaps, it is the soul that keeps one from departing Mother Earth. Conditions that humans can find themselves in and among. There are some that walk the earth never having a moment of discomfort among their home, meaning always plenty of food and water, heat and electricity. There are some that wouldn't know a day without luxury, and in the contrast, there are some that have never had a bed to sleep in, a fresh sheet to lie on. There are ones that have never known a roof over their head that provided any stability, any love in the walls. As mentioned, the streets don't have walls, but to some, the streets have stability and love. I can go on and on about my time on the streets. I can talk about the period of time in my life where I was a wonderful mother, a wonderful partner. I could share about the times that I was best friends with my sisters. I could go on about how wonderful it was to have clean sheets and a warm bed to sleep in. Most want the gritty stuff, though. Most want to know about troubles and frustrations. Have you noticed that people talk about what is wrong far, far greater than what is right? For to most, where I was raised, where I spent my life, most have beds, most have comfort of home, most have security and the sense of social standards of height. The topic around the boardroom table would not be the appreciation of one's sheets on their bed. The topic to give appreciation of a warm house just wouldn't be heard of. For if one started talking about basic needs while living well beyond well, people would come to the conclusion that the one expressing the gratitude for the basic needs is nuts. Why is that? But the funny thing is that when basic needs are not met, and it is talked about, most don't listen. Most will turn a blind eye. Most would not understand. Isn't that fascinating? The world can be so different to so many. One struggle can be of health. One struggle can be of poor relationships. One struggle can be a past that needs to stay in the closet. One struggle is mostly oneself. Living with oneself is what people struggle with the most. For even if one makes their bed and lies in it, metaphorically speaking, they are still as uncomfortable as the one placed in the cardboard box on the street concrete, fighting death. It is hard to sleep in a beautifully made bed when one cannot forgive themselves. It can be of more ease to lay out under the stars on a park bench, free of any trouble at all. Isn't that fascinating? How many live in wonderful homes and such comfort, and yet find a way to become the addict? See, It isn't always where one has lived or not lived. It really has to do with one's personal choices. For I had a bed and sheets washed, and yet my bed felt like hell. There was a time that I kept a very tidy home. There was a time that each morning beds were made with precision and love. There was a time in my life where the comfort of my home was everything. And in one day, the day he left with the neighbor, my home became my hell. For why would someone leave such a grand bed? Why was that choice made? I am sure there were reasons. I am sure that I had convinced myself that I did something very wrong. I am sure that some people just don't have compassion. This is what I didn't see. Compassion would have made the biggest difference in the separation, but it wasn't there. In fact, they laughed in my face. In fact, they acted, they being he and his new playmate, they acted cold and harsh. They wanted me to feel like it was all my fault, that while I was lovingly making our bed, he was in another's. How do you keep sleeping in the same bed? You don't. How do you react when your family has just been torn apart by someone else's bullshit sheets? How do you tell your daughter that he left because your mother wasn't good enough? And so my anger began. The next time you make your bed, I ask you to ponder the sheets and the comfort. The next time you make your bed, I ask you to ponder the cardboard box that holds the suffering. A cardboard box usually leads to a pine box, if one is lucky enough. I traded my comfortable bed to sleep on a park bench under the stars in the summertime sky, so I could feel the freedom of life itself. For my bed was my trap and my pine box. The bed shared with another became my pine box.